Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance, where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard Hot Dance charts in immaculate detail, with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. Jesus, I did not see this week coming at all. I mean, I did expect that we'd be getting the huge Bizarrap and Rauw Alejandro collabs debuting pretty damn high, but what I did not expect was an album bomb from none other than Kim Petras of all people, with her album Feed the Beast debuting a lot of songs this week alongside a lot of big name debuts that I wasn't remotely surprised by. So yeah, this was a really busy week and unfortunately not a remotely good one, but yeah, we'll get to it. But of course what this didn't impact was our number one with I'm Good Blue by David Guetta and Bebe Rexha, and really given that it's strong in all categories still, even though it is falling on the Hot 100, I don't expect this to really go anywhere anytime soon. Hell, you could also say the same for Baby Don't Hurt Me by David Guetta and Marie and Quilla Ray at number 2, although the radio is kind of stalled out on that one. Interesting, I thought it would have been surging up a lot quicker, but thankfully that means that this pile of crap is not going to hit number 1 anytime soon, or at least I goddamn hope so. Sadly, we might be seeing the end for Trustful by Pink at number 3, as the radio is starting to finally rotate this one out, and given that it never had any stream to begin with, it might be finally on its way out. Shame too, as this means that Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears will be able to rebound past number 4 in the coming weeks, as it's just way too consistent in all categories to really see itself falling anytime soon, especially given it actually gained this week. But now onto the big story of this week besides Kim Petras, the two back-to-back debuts from Bizarrap and Rauw Alejandro, which managed to debut really high on streaming, and on the latter case of it actually has radio support, so I might see it actually stick around. But for now, Bizarrap Music Sessions Volume 56 with Bizarrap as the lead is at number 5, with Baby Hello with Rauw Alejandro as the lead at number 6. And again, I'm not complaining that these are both here. It's really nice to see some diversity in the top 10 here. Hell, that streaming boost I mentioned earlier might have actually translated to Bizarrap's other volume with Shakira in Bizarrap Music Sessions Volume 53 at number 7, as it didn't really fall all that hard, and all things considered, it's actually holding pretty okay. But what isn't holding okay is El Merengue by Marshmello and Manuel Turizo at number 8, and man, this just utterly collapsed on streaming, and with radio starting to rotate this one out too, I'm not remotely surprised it collapsed as hard as it did. Hell, I'm more surprised that we've got 4 Latin songs back to back in the top 10, which is really promising for the genre going forward. Unfortunately though, you've also got to put that next to Padam Padam by Carlie Minogue at number 9, which just isn't dying on radio and has streaming support behind it, so this means this pile of garbage is actually going to rebound once the songs above it start to fall below it. But also what shocked me, debuting in the top 10 off of the album bomb impact, and this is the first time that this has crossed over, Alone by Kim Petras featuring Nicki Minaj at number 10. And look, I'm not remotely happy that this debuted. Seriously, you couldn't get anything from Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia to the chart here, and yet this did. But really, given that it's only here off of streaming with no radio support behind it at all, I expect this to fall out of the top 10 soon, and when you hear my opinions about this song, good riddance. But on the topic of things falling out, my god, our falls and fall-offs list this week was absolutely nuts. I mean, just in our established list of songs that are worth talking about that fell out, we had a bunch of Fong songs fall out, like Crystals by Isolate.exe, Warning by MC Orson, and Shadow by Onimaru and Smith Main, as well as songs that will just barely miss the year-end list, like Side Effects by Becky Hill and Lewis Thompson, and Nothing Ever After by ILLENIUM and Motionless in White. The latter one really stuck around longer than I expected. And then you had all the songs that will make the year-end list, like Money on the Dash by Ellie Duhay and Wethan, Baby Again by Fred Again, Skrillex and Fortet, Bizarrap Music Sessions Volume 54 by Bizarrap and Akunhel, and in a particularly bad week for Tiesto, All Nighter is gone, as well as the biggest one, 1035 with Tate McRae, as I called last week. And I'm not really complaining about this exiting. But that's not all. When you get to our falls, only 7 songs outside the top 10 didn't fall 5 or more spots. So yeah, this was chaotic as shit. So let's go from the bottom up, shall we? Ratata by Skrillex, Missy Elliott and Mr. Wazzo hit 49. Call On Me by Baby Rexha hit 48. Eyes Wide Shut by ILLENIUM, Avril Lavigne and Travis Barker hit 46. Hero by Alan Walker and Sasha Alex Sloan hit 45. Crying on the Dance Floor by Endless Summer and Violet Days is at 44. Relax My Eyes by Another and Abel Boulder is down to 43. I Like You by Tovlo actually managed to hold pretty steady at 42. Interesting that this is the week it's actually stable. And Chills LA Hills by Tiesto and A Boogie with the Hoodie hit 41. Man, that one really collapsed. He's not having a good week at all here. Then there's Rhyme Dust by MK and Dom Dollar at 39. Giga Chat Thing by Geoxem at 38. 38, likely on its final week on the charts and having locked its year-end list spot, which is insane to me. Vulgar by Sam Smith and Madonna continuing to just utterly collapse at 37, and River by Miley Cyrus at 36. Wow, this won't even last past 20 weeks. Really telling there. Then there's Heart Racing by Kanye, Rio Vaz and Nimstar at 32, and then a triple of fantastic tech house songs with Beggin' by Chris Lake and Aluna down to 31, Eat Your Man by Dom Dollar and Nelly Furtado at 27, and Take It Off by Fisher and Artig down to 26. Again, these are holding really steady. I'm not remotely complaining at all. They're going to rebound good next week, and that's all but good for me. Then finally, rounding out the top half, Hands Up by Barely Human and Katsiki at 23, Narcissistic Personality Disorder by Odatari at 22, Esta Vida by Marshmello and Farruko down to 21, Praising You by Rita Ora featuring Fatboy Slim at 20, Where You Are by John Summer and Halo at 16, and even Miracle by Calvin Harris and Ellie Goulding at 14. Guess the pop airplay push isn't coming for this anytime soon. That's a real shame. And with that, not a single jump or comeback this week, so this is unbelievably quick. So yeah, we have 14 debuts this week, so pardon me if I keep this short and concise. I really want to get this over and done with, especially given my personal life right now is busy beyond belief. So let's start out with number 50, Castle in the Sky by Kim Petras.
Beat me up, yeah, don't stop, baby, till your heart's beating faster than mine. Keep me up, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna be blunt. This Kim Petras album was not good. A lot of the songs just feel really badly produced, and with Kim Petras on vocals, who I've never been a fan of at all, it just really sunk this album down to not remotely interesting or good territory for me. And with songs like this, okay, seriously, what's there to say about this? I get that it's going for more of a rave sort of sound with a hardcore beat that's actually pretty interesting for Kim Petras, but it also sounds incredibly flat and just doesn't have any sort of power behind it at all, which for the standards of this genre is just not alright at all. You really could have tried a lot harder than this. Combine that with the god-awful vocal production that runs rampant throughout Feed the Beast, and yeah, this may not be the worst song on the album, but it's not remotely good either. I'd skip it. Number 47, Shy Boy by Carlie Rae Jepsen. Okay, this one, meanwhile, was actually pretty interesting for me, which, given that I'm not a huge fan of Carlie Rae Jepsen and haven't really seen her hype yet, I'm really surprised that I'm actually saying this. It's the lead single to her upcoming album. I'm honestly surprised it debuted a bit low until you heard the song and realized, wow, this is not good at all. I mean, I don't mind the funky house production, and especially when you include some nice jazz elements like the trumpets that sound really good against a really great bass line and some genuinely bouncy percussion that sounds really nice. But then you have Carlie Rae Jepsen, and seriously, what's wrong with her vocals here? She sounds awful, and it's really unlike her. I mean, the bad vocal production alone just really sunk this down for me, but then you get her going into her higher register on that hook, and she just sounds like a dying seal, which for someone who has such a powerful mid-range, I have no idea why anyone decided that was a good idea, especially for the hook of all things. And yeah, even though I like the production, it's nothing amazing, and when you have such bad vocals on top of it, yeah, this was a complete miss for me, and given that I've actually liked a few Carlie Rae Jepsen songs in the past, that's a really bad sign for this upcoming album. Hopefully it's better than this. This is a bad lead single choice. I'd skip it. Number 40, Revelations by Kim Petras.
Hotter than imagination. Touch me, give me revelations. Give me revelations.
Okay, I will give this points that it does have a much more bouncier funk sound to it that actually sounds a bit better than the majority of the album. But man, those backing vocals feel so goddamn tinny. And when Kim Petras sounds as completely flat and devoid of personality on the mic as she always has, on top of the structure of the song being a complete mess where the hook just blends into every single verse and just doesn't really sound all that good, yeah, this one was just kind of mid for me. Again, not the worst song on the album. It's a decent song, I guess, but it's not remotely interesting either. I'd skip it. Number 35, Claws by Kim Petras. I'll say this, out of all the Kim Petras songs this week, this one is by far my favourite, and one of the best songs she's actually ever made. The hook is really damn pretty with those vocal chops, and Kim Petras sounds a lot better on the mic than she has on any other song on this album. It's really jarring, but in a good way, honestly. And yeah, the production has this really large, spacious atmosphere to it that has a genuine groove and some great bass production here. This is really interesting, especially for her standards. It actually sounds pretty damn good, all things considered. And combine that with a runtime that's actually really well utilized, yeah, this is a genuinely really great song. Shame that the album's kind of mediocre, but still, I'll take this. This is pretty damn great. Number 34, Feed the Beast by Kim Petras.
Off the leash, come put your hands all over me. Feed the beast, feed the beast. I know that nothing comes for free. Throw you my heart like eat me please. Come put your hands all over me. Feed the beast, feed the beast.
And thankfully, the title track was the other song from Kim Petras this week that I found to be amongst the best of the album for me, although there does have its problems. Primarily that Kim Petras once again sounds really ugly on the microphone and just doesn't really have the personality to ride this sort of production. Shame too, because said production is great. The house beat hits a lot harder with some really satisfying kicks, and the synths have this really nice minimalistic sound to them that actually work a lot better than other songs in this style on the album. I will say though that even if this is quite likable, it's nothing mind-blowing, and again, by the standards of other house songs, it's just not up to par, but by the standards of this mediocre at best album, I'll take what I can get. It's a solid song. It's quite likable. I liked it. Number 33, Como Yo by Marshmello and Tiago PZK. Oh, charming. This week also got Marshmello heading right back to Latin music, as if we weren't tired of it already after the second attempt with Esta Vida with Farruko that's generally been underperforming in comparison to El Merengue. Hell, I've kind of caught on El Merengue. I think it's just a generally okay song nowadays, and really, if you got anyone besides Manuel Turizo on it and instead got, say, Tiago PZK, it just wouldn't have worked. And case in point, we have Tiago PZK on this particular song that debuted quite low, and yeah, for good reason too, because this really does not work for me at all. I mean, it at least started off okay with the guitar, that sounded pretty nice, but then you have that god-awful trap percussion that Marshmello has abused to the ground at this point, although I will say it does go more towards a drum and bass approach that's at least unique for him, even if it sounds really damn flat. I mean, seriously, I get that Marshmello's mixing skills haven't really been great since the start. It's been one of the biggest setbacks to his career, but this just sounds really flat. Honestly, just really does not work for drum and bass, especially when you have someone like Tiago PZK on this song. And seriously, I get that he wants to replicate the same sort of vocal styles and Will AA or even Manuel Turizo himself, but he just has no personality to him. Honestly, he's more leaning towards the former in terms of talent as opposed to the latter, which is not a good thing. So yeah, this kind of really sucks. And really, it's the nail in the coffin to Marshmello making Latin music. Can he just please do something different than this? It's not good for him at all. I'd skip this too. Number 30, Uh-Oh by Kim Petras.
Everything I drop is a banger. Everything I drop is a banger. Yeah. Oh, you already know. Oh, I'ma keep it up. Oh, and you go up. Oh.
Okay, seriously, I've been a lot less harsh to a lot of the other debuts from Kim Petras before this, but my god, this song just tests my patience. I mean, the production at least sounded okay at first, even if it forces Kim Petras' vocals so far to the front of the mix that she ends up clipping and sounding awful over this production. But even that gets completely thrown out as the mix just overpowers any sort of good elements and makes the song a complete cluttered mess. Combine that with Kim Petras' awful vocal melodies that get really obnoxious really fast and a hook that's genuinely terrible. Yeah, this is the first really bad song from this album that I'll be covering, and stay tuned because there's worse than this. Skip it. Number 29, Drifting by Tiesto.
If I'm drifting, say that you won't be there. Hope you listen, say your name as my prayer. In the deep end, head about to breathe. If I'm drifting, say that you won't be there.
So it definitely seems like Tiesto has moved on from Drive already, which given how successful a lot of that albums turned out to be, I'm not remotely surprised there. But yeah, we have a loose single attached to the DJ mix of Drive that wasn't even on the original album, and I've been seeing it getting a lot of positive reception, and actually after listening to it, I kind of understand why. Yes, it's a blatant retread of what Fred again's been doing with the vocal chop-led garage production with some really impeccable atmosphere and some really great wavering synths that sound nice against the percussion, but given that Tiesto's proven that he can actually mix this sort of atmospheric sound well with his trance roots back in the day, I'm honestly not surprised that it turned out really damn good with him here. The vocals sound really nice, the drops have some really great atmosphere to them, and just this whole song has this really serene and breezy vibe that I honestly liked a lot more than I expected. It's a really strong sign that if Fred again and Tiesto somehow work together in the near future, they could honestly make something that's a lot higher quality than a lot of people would expect. So yeah, this is a really damn solid song, and it really had my hopes up for whatever Tiesto comes up with next. So yeah, good stuff. I like this. Number 18, If Only I by Loud Luxury, Two Friends, and Bebe Rexha. A list of artists on one song that I've just wanted to stay away from as far as possible, but yeah, here we go with the combined talents of Loud Luxury, Two Friends, and Bebe Rexha. Charming. Unfortunately, the public still wants to embrace these names for some ungodly reason in 2023. There's better names out there, why are you doing this? But the song itself? Okay, I'll actually be really honest here. I like this a lot more than I expected. For one, the production here is goddamn gorgeous. It kind of blows my mind that more artists haven't really embraced this sort of sound that Joel Corry's been popularizing with History and Lionheart Fearless recently, especially given an atmospheric house of this kind has really been making a comeback in 2023. But honestly, these two duos really nailed it in terms of the sound here. This production sounds really rich and immersive, the synths sound really nice, and the drums have some genuine punch to them. They hit a lot harder than I expected coming out of this genre, which given the history of both Two Friends and Loud Luxury, especially recently, this turned out a lot better produced than I expected. Honestly, it was one of the more interesting songs in recent memory. But what shocked me the most? Bebe Rexha on this song sounds great. She's got this nice mid-range vocal delivery that's probably amongst her best that she's ever delivered, and her vocal melodies across that hook are genuinely catchy as all hell, and she sounds way more invested than I ever expected. Seriously, with all these names involved, I was expecting something really boring akin to Next to You, but this just really took me aback. So yeah, this is a genuinely really good song, possibly great. I like this a lot. I hope it sticks around. Number 17, King of Hearts by Kim Petras. Unfortunately, we have to go back to Kim Petras again with one of the worst songs on this album, and my god, this one just sounds atrocious from a production standpoint. It kind of sounds like something that would have come out of the electro house scene in 2013, which unsurprisingly nowadays is incredibly dated, but this doesn't even have the charm or personality that a lot of songs from that era did. This just sounds really flatly produced. The hook especially sounds atrocious as all the instruments are just buried behind Kim Petras doing one of her most annoying vocal inflections I've ever seen, and combine that with that terrible interpolation of Two of Hearts by Stacey Q that just sounds forced as all hell. Yeah, this is another example of how bad this album could get for me. Again, it's not the worst song on the album. There are a few that I could think of, especially Coconuts, that would have been even worse, and thankfully that one didn't chart. But this is still really damn bad. I'd skip it. This is not even close to as good as it could be. Number 13, See You Again by the Chainsmokers and ILLENIUM featuring Carlie Hanson. You know these two are desperate for longevity when this is the sort of song that they're making in 2023, and I honestly don't know who comes out looking worse from this. Kinda ironic too, because this song is fucking garbage, easily amongst the worst songs that both producers have made, which coming from the Chainsmokers, that's really saying something. The production for one sounds atrocious, sounding like a reject from ILLENIUM's self-titled album, but somehow with even less personality to it, as it just sounds really flat, especially with ILLENIUM's signature bass that's never sounded as as flat and really completely devoid of personality as it does here. I mean, seriously, ILLENIUM could do well with those kicks in the past, but with a song this slow and completely devoid of anything close to interest, they just sound really out of place here, especially against the bass production, which sounds absolutely fucking awful. It sounds like a dying washing machine. Why the fuck is this on a professionally released song, especially by two names that have had years in the industry? I've had Bandcamp producers produce better bass than this. Seriously, I have nothing personal against ILLENIUM here. I've never had anything against him, really. He seems like a really nice guy, and again, I've been a fan for him for years. But seriously, this sounds like something he threw together in a few minutes and didn't even bother to care about mixing or pacing, which, given that he's working with the Chainsmokers in 2023, I'm not remotely surprised. I probably would have done the same. Also, Carlie Hanson is here and adds absolutely nothing to the song, alongside Drew Taggart, who just sounds as completely flat and devoid of personality as ever. So yeah, there's no redeeming qualities to this fucking garbage. This can go fuck itself. Fuck this song. I hope this flops hard and proves that this sort of formula doesn't work twice. Skip this fucking garbage. Number 10, Alone by Kim Petras and Nicki Minaj.
Gonna take to get you all alone. I just want you here by my side. I don't wanna be here, baby, on my own.
I mean, this one's already been ripped apart by critics for being a badly produced pop rap song with Nicki phoning in her verse, and the interpretation of Better Off Alone by Alice DJ that sounds as atrociously implemented as every other song that's done that in this style as of recently, outside of El Incomprendido by Farruko, which yeah, I agree with every single one of those points. This is a fucking awful song, but what pisses me off the most about this is the fact that this was actually able to chart here at all. This has been released as a single for goddamn months now. It actually charted on the Hot 100 at one point, and you're only now letting this chart, effectively taking away a year-end spot from other artists who deserve it a lot more and actually make dance music. Are you fucking serious? I mean, we got Dance the Night, Where She Goes, Comfort, a lot of the songs from Future Nostalgia, I'll say it again, and you let this chart while those don't, even despite them being much more danceable than this fucking trash. I mean, the song itself, it deserves all the hatred it got from the critics at the time. It's not a remotely good song, but the fact that this was allowed to chart and be as successful as it is on the dance charts, yeah, that's what pisses me off the most about this. Fuck this one too. This song is fucking awful. Skip it. Number 6, Baby Hello by Rauw Alejandro and Bizarrap.
Vi que estaba sola y que quería bellaquear y prender, vamos a recordar.
Oh, thank God, we're actually ending with the Bizarrap and Rauw Alejandro collabs that will come into effectively save this week, with this one being one of the singles to Rauw Alejandro's upcoming album that should be out at the time of recording this. And okay, while I don't think this is as good as his other debut that's coming later on, I still think this is goddamn great. The Sims sound really nice coming out of Bizarrap. The hook is really damn fun, even if it is a bit ridiculous and doesn't hit as hard as the hook on Volume 56, but again, we'll get to that. And the Driving House groove works really well against Rauw Alejandro's vocals, where he's got the sort of personality to ride this sort of production, and proves once again why he's one of my favorite names in the Latin scene. He's really been trying to experiment recently with Latin sounds, and honestly it's worked out way better than it should for him. It's been really what's elevated him recently for me. So yeah, I don't know how well this is going to do compared to the other collab that debuted above it, but still, I would like to see this become a hit. It's a really damn fun song and really a nice change of pace in the top 10. So yeah, good stuff. I really like this one too. And finally, number 5, Bizarrap Music Sessions Volume 56 by Bizarrap and Rauw Alejandro.
Podemos chingar y que pasen la hora y por la mañana no tiene que haber boda.
But yeah, let's get to that high debut from these two, and shock horror, this is easily the best song of the week for me. I'm not even going to argue there. Just some of the most blissful synth-pop production you'll hear, as the Sims sound absolutely gorgeous as expected. The song has a much bigger atmosphere to it, which coming from a Bizarrap session is really quite telling of Bizarrap's talents as a producer, and once again, Rauw Alejandro absolutely sounds fantastic, especially on that hook where he sounds way more invested and charismatic than he has any right to. I also like that little stuttering effect that Bizarrap does at the beginning of the hooks, and again, just like a lot of other moments throughout the series so far, it's just another telling sign that these volumes really stick out a lot more than other sort of freestyle sessions of this kind. So yeah, this is fucking excellent, and if this manages to stick around, you have one of my favorite hits of the year. So yeah, genuinely great song. I'm so happy this crossed over as high as it did. And my God, we're finally done with this fucking week. god, this was not good at all. I mean, thankfully Bizarrap and Rauw Alejandro came through to effectively save this week with Bizarrap Music Sessions Volume 56 with Bizarrap as the lead getting the best of the week, and Baby Hello with Rauw Alejandro as the lead getting an honourable runner-up, although actually being tied with Claws by Kim Petras, which, yes, I didn't like the album at all, but that song really stuck out for me. It's a genuinely great song. For the worst though, oh dear god, there were so many choices here, but I think I'm gonna hone in on See You Again by the Chainsmokers and ILLENIUM featuring Carlie Hanson, tied for the worst with Alone by Kim Petras and Nicki Minaj. That song just pisses me off, and the fact it's charting, yeah, that's gross. But I'm also gonna give 2 dishonourable runner-ups because this week really was that bad, with Como Yo by Marshmello and Tiago PZK tying with King of Hearts by Kim Petras because that song is fucking garbage too, and it was really close to the worst of the week as well. Next week, dear god, I hope this Kim Petras album goes away fast and takes out the trash with it. We could really use a shake-up that's actually good for this chart moving forward. But yeah, that's all for this episode of Analysis of Dance. See you next time.